Hello, everyone. It's nice to see some familiar faces and some people that that haven't joined us at the Charity Leaders Forum before. So you're very welcome. I'll make a start, shall I, Lindsay? Are there many people waiting?
No, everyone's in. I will keep an eye on the waiting room, just in case anyone does get kicked out. Obviously, we'll pick you back up and we'll get you in straight away. But yeah, I think we're all okay to make a start.
Okay, great. So yeah, welcome everyone. Today's session is a sort of um, a live view of ChatGPT. There's obviously lots of talk about AI and ChatGPT at the moment, and we thought actually for the charity sector, it's something that's really, really important and can offer you something that you might not be using at the moment. Which, in today's climate, I think every little helps, and it's a free way for you to access lots of useful information. And I'm really pleased that we've got Dr. Peter Clayton, who I've seen in action before, and I was blown away with the information that he could share with us. So I've invited him to come and speak to us today. So he'll be leading the session. We will have to move fairly quickly. We've only got an hour. So Peter will take us through things. If you have any questions, if you could put them on the chat function, please. Or if there is time, then at the end we'll see if people can ask any questions, or we can follow up with you afterwards. But Lindsay will look at any questions that you're putting on the chat function if you want to do that. So for those of us that don't know anything about us, so I'm Bhayani. I'm the Managing Director at Bhayani HR and Employment Law, and we are a niche law firm. We specialise in everything to do with employing people, and we have a unique mix of HR and employment lawyers working side by side. And so you get the right advice at the right level at the time that you need it. So I'm not going to go into any real detail about us, apart from to say that we've worked with the not-for-profit sector for many, many years. And me personally, I have done for about 30 years now. So we started the Charity Leaders Forum last year, and we think it's working really well. But we're always interested in seeing people's feedback. So when you get feedback sheets at the end, if there are particular topics that you want to see in the future, and I think this format is working quite well, just having a lunchtime learning session for an hour, then we'd really like to cover some of those topics. So please do get in touch with us and tell us the sorts of things that you want to see. So we do something called a charity check-in. So if any of you aren't familiar with our firm and you want to contact us after the session, we can do a free charity check-in so that we can make sure that you're covering off all of these sorts of things that we think are really, really essential for the sector. So do bear that in mind. And if anybody's interested, then we'll just get in touch with us and we'll take you through that. So I think there are a few people still filtering in. Lindsay, are you admitting them as they come? Yeah. Okay, right. So I think that's it from me. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let Dr. Peter Clayton start the session. And as I say, please do put questions or comments on the chat function if you want to. So Peter, do you want to take it from here?
Yep, that'd be great. Let me share my screen. Hopefully then people can see that. Yeah, so I'm Peter Clayton. I introduce people to and train people in ChatGPT for free for charities. So I just want to take people through it. So not much in the way of presentation in terms of slides. The fun is in doing it. So we're going to invent a new charity. And we're going to use ChatGPT to explore the different things that we can do very quickly. So can you see my screen? Move that away. Right. Okay. Yeah. So ChatGPT. So it's artificial intelligence. and obviously it's a computer, and it's able to do tasks normally assigned to human intelligence. So it's not actually intelligent. It's very sophisticated software. Obviously it's a chat because we chat to it, and GPT is called generative pre-trained transformer. That's why people don't say it in full. It's often quite tricky to say because people say it kind of GPT or TPG or something like that. The way I remember, it's GP like a doctor, GP and T at the end of it. So I describe it as being an imperfect personal assistant and researcher. So it's like you have your own personal assistant. They're pretty good, but they're not perfect. You ask them to prepare documents, ideas, explanations, or talk to you about things. And then you ask it to review something you've written, and it does it to the best of its ability. And then you check that it's right and ask it to change it if not. So think of it like that. It's not perfect. It definitely gets things wrong, but it's your job to read what it says and basically sort of approve or not approve. You can't just let it do whatever you can't do whatever it says, essentially. The other way to describe it is a digital genie that can grant unlimited word-based wishes, but essentially it's read billions of pages to base their answers on. So it may not be perfect, and neither are we. It's read many, many, many more pages that you've ever going to read possibly in your life, and it knows things on all different topics. So it knows lots of things about charities. And when I say, of course, I know it, it doesn't actually know it in terms of consciousness. It's just a computer. So it's a bit like on your phone, you've got text prediction where it predicts what the next word is. But this is where it predicts where the whole document is based on your very short prompt and billions of pages that it's read. So what can you use it for? So you can write a report or an email, adverts, product descriptions, job descriptions, instruction manuals. You can put forward your ideas and it'll analyze and critique them. You can explain the topic to you and you'll be able to use it for your job. So basically, if you're not quite sure where to start, it'll do it because it doesn't have writer's block. If you ask it to write something very emotional, it just does it straight away, whereas we'd find it very difficult. It can summarize existing text, so you can put in your own text or your own web pages and it'll summarize it or give suggestions. You can ask it to do something and then modify it. So you ask it to do something, and I'm going to show you, and then you just modify it. Say, I don't like that bit. Can you change it? And it'll just do that bit. Well, normally it does it that bit only. It's good at technical support. So obviously, if you've got sort of people who can train you or not train you, and because they do technical support, as charities, it's quite expensive. So instead of that, you can just ask ChatGPT. You can say, "This is the problem I'm having. How can I fix it?" And it'll give you suggestions. So it can brainstorm, generate new ideas, evaluate them, act as a personal coach, and chat with it. And the new one, as of last week, it will actually create images for you as well. So I'll just show you in a little bit, but we give it a prompt. So a prompt is just you asking it to do something. And if you think of the way that it's for a computer to work out what to give you back again, it needs the context. It needs to know what you want. But also it needs to ask you need to tell it what role it is as a very specific part of the programming. When they uploaded all the documents, it said who it was from. So in order for you to get the best response, you need to say what role you want to do. And normally you want to tell it that it's an expert or a consultant, because you get a different response. You want the task that you want the target audience, if that's useful. Otherwise, of course, all of this stuff, it'll just guess if you don't give it the details, and it guesses. Context, so you get a better response if the more context you give it. So you might give it even 400 or 500 words, or you could copy everything from your website onto it to give it context. You give it the style. Do you want it to be funny? Do you want it to be serious, persuasive? and also then the output length and format. So do you want it to be short? Do you want it to be long? 200 words, 400 words? What format do you want a table? Do you want it with bolds and capital letters and that sort of stuff? So you write in natural language and you talk to it as if it's a real person. Obviously it's not, but it's an imperfect assistant. You ask it to do something, you proofread it, and then you come back afterwards and say, maybe not that bit. Can you put that bit first? Can you put that bit last? Can you expand on a particular part? So I'm going to do it live, but these are the different parts. You've got the model. So you need to, first, it's openai.com. Don't go anywhere else. There's lots of spam and scam websites. It's openai.com. And then once it's free to sign up, but it's not free to get the latest version. So the free version, which is also available at Bing, which is Microsoft's version of Google. And then you've got the version, if you pay for it, which is £16-17 a month. So hopefully once you see it, well, you can either choose the free version or not. So you select the version, then this red part at the bottom is where you put your prompts, where you put the message, this is what you want to do, and the purple area here is where you will see the output. And then also on the left, you'll see previous chat. So you can go back to a previous chat and continue it. And because context is everything that you put in so far counts as context. Its own responses and your questions. So that's it in terms of presentation. And the main thing now is to do it. My screen's got right. Here we go. So I have got, I've pre-written all of these just to help you see them. So I'm going to say, act as if you are setting up a UK charity that provides physical exercise activities for the elderly. So we're telling it how to act. We're saying act as a consultant, because generally you get better responses if you say you're an expert. Tell it to act as an expert or a consultant. A consultant in setting up and managing charities in this sector. Write a short mission statement to the charity, including 5 bullet points showing the aim of the charity. So we're getting it to write something, we're saying a short mission statement, and then we're giving a bit more description of how we want it to output. We want to say write in a friendly and professional style. Obviously, you might do something which is more persuasive or something. When you've used it for a while, you generally know its own style, and mostly it's okay, but sometimes you want to tweak it in it. So here we go. Let's see what happens. So this is live. Oops, I see that hasn't liked it from. Let me just copy that. I think we've just timed out. Let's do it again. Yeah, so it puts your message up here, and then it starts writing. Yeah, so it's made up a name of a company, a charity. It's given a mission statement. Basically, all of this, I'm not going to read out all of it because obviously it takes quite a long time, but hopefully you'll be able to skim read this to see that it looks quite good. I've never been disappointed so far. So we've got I'll just do a little bit here. We believe in transformative power of physical activity and enhancing the lives of the elderly, committed to fostering a community where every senior feels valued, vibrant, and vitally engaged through a range of enjoyable, accessible exercise activities. Very nice. Essentially, you could say, I don't quite like that. We don't like to call them senior, because that's more an American word. But essentially it's good. And now we've got 5 bullet points. The important thing to notice is that it can't count very well. So do not use it for calculations of numbers. It is getting better at things. But so normally it would, of course, let's say 99% of the time it can count to 5. So it gives you 5 bullet points. So here's a quick one here. And here at the bottom, we can copy it. Here, and we can say good or bad, or there's a button which is regenerate, and regenerate essentially recreates it as a second version of the same thing. So obviously so every time you regenerate, and even if you ask exactly the same question, it starts in a slightly different place. And so you never get the same response twice. Of course, if you ask what's 1 and 1, it would be able to do that, but it's the other way. So now it's decided to get unnumbered bullet points. And if we wanted to, we've got this little backwards left arrow here. We can see the first version and the second version. We can say, yeah, okay, I like the first version. So I'm just going to copy this because it's when we're typing it. So now we're going to say, first list the types of projects that fitness charities in general run, because one of the things it likes doing is if you do things step by step, first get it to think of one thing and then move on to the next thing, then it gives quite a slightly better response. And of course, all of this is just practice to how to do it, because you're saying then once it's done that and giving the advantages and disadvantages of them, then reconsider the list to create a shortcut of 10 of the most effective but novel projects that it can do with little cost in priority order. Don't go into detail of each project. So off it sets. So essentially, we've got a list of different activities that are generally run by fitness ones, not specifically to do with the elderly. And now it's looked at this list and it's giving a short list. Of course, you might disagree with them, and that's fine. You can tell it, it's like an imperfect assistant. You would say, oh, no, I don't like that one. Can you replace it? Can you mix it up? Okay, so let's have a little look at these. Okay, yeah, we like this one here, the DIY home challenges. Expand on, instead of putting DIY home challenges, pretend it's a human and say point on short list item number 6. Yeah, we don't need to do that. It acts as if it's intelligent, and it normally works. Yeah, so we can say, why is this? Why did you short list it? So generally, you want to write in natural language because it's been trained on people's writing. So people write in natural language. You don't need to have a question mark, for example, because it's not so important, because it knows, based on the words, why did you shortlist it? It must be a question. Generally, you don't need to use capital letters unless it's important, because it knows that means something. Don't need to use punctuation unless it makes a difference to the question or the prompt. So you can see here it's come up with a big long list of them. Yeah. So we will go to the next one. Create a bullet point list of 10 related fundraising events that the charity could do with little cost and matches the aim of the charity. Do not go into detail of each event. So before, there's projects and these are fundraising suggestions. So you can see the speed that it's doing it, and it gets faster and faster. So write the body of a very short email to Sheffield City Council requesting funding for the charity, including benefits to the council of funding it, no more than 200 words. Again, 200 words might not do that exactly. it's a bit more than 200 pages to me. So we can say, make it shorter. Up to 2 paragraphs for submission to in a website form, for example. See, obviously it's got the 2 paragraphs, and it's obviously knows not to include the different bits at the end of it, which is all good. Write the request in a funny poem, just basically showing you don't have to. Yeah, basically it's the power of it. If it can do this, it can do a lot more things. So here we've got something, dear esteemed member of Sheffield Council here. Oops, so it's gone off to the page. So that's another thing, is that because it also writes very quickly. How do we, you can't just page up, you want to see what it's been written. So you want to click on this middle section where the prompt is, and then you can move the arrow key up and down, or you can page up and down here. You see this bottom one here, that means just go to the bottom of the page. So we can scroll up here, we can read our sort of humorous poem. Dear esteemed member of Sheffield Councils here, with a crest wrapped in rhyme for your ear, from charity name with a mission clear to lift elderly spirits and spread cheer. Essentially, we keep going. Yeah, so essentially we've got it in a funny poem. We can say, write it in a very serious way, sort of as Shakespeare would. So it's a poem, it's serious, and it's Shakespearean. So analyze the message you just wrote and give the best and worst parts of it in a table format. So again, you see, you could put your own text in. So let's say you're preparing a document for something, then you could put your own data in, or you could put your own web page in that you're proposing, or email to someone and say, clean up the language on this, make it more friendly. Can you see an issue with it? Rewrite it to cover potential problems that might be from it. So let's say we have our message here. We can copy it, this little clipboard here, and then we can go to Word and paste it in. Okay, and that's all fine when there's no bolding, essentially. Or you can obviously put it into Word, into an email. But let's say we've got this with a table here. When we paste it in, it doesn't really work very well. So that's one of the things to learn how to do. So on a table, then instead of using this button, which doesn't work, it's amazing, it's so powerful, and yet it has a not very good interface. If you select just left of the table, the top table, and just to the very end here, we can paste it in. And here we nearly always do a merge formatting. That's just the way it is. Let me show another example of how to copy it. So let's do another example. So write a very short job advertisement for a volunteer fundraiser. Write it. I'll do it. Write it in. And the only thing, everything is very straightforward. You're wanting to do it as markdown format. That's the only thing that I've actually discovered that it's useful for. So markdown format means essentially, see, it doesn't. Sometimes it puts these in these boxes, and we need to stop it. And let's just try it again. So we can edit it and just save and submit. No, okay. So sometimes it doesn't. Inside a box. Yeah, okay. So that's the thing. It kind of gets confused sometimes because it tries to put that in this markdown box. But we've got here essentially when you sometimes that's the thing. You use natural language. Okay, so apart from the obviously markdown format, which isn't very natural, essentially it has big bolds. It uses big heading. So capital bolds, and we could, if we use the button here to copy and paste into Word, then it doesn't really work very well. But if you go up to here and move the mouse just to the left of it and select from down here to the bottom and press Control-C, copy, and then paste in, then it does. Except that now we've got these little grey boxes around it, and we don't want those. So whenever you paste into Word, you've got a paste option, and you can just say merge formatting. So now we can see it's got the bigger headings, it's got the bolds, it's got the bullet points here. Yeah, and so if we have a look here, basically we said, yeah, our charity, which you insert your charity name, bit of explanation, seeking for a volunteer fundraiser. It decides to put it in bold to make it easier to people to stop reading the rest of it if it's not relevant. Key responsibilities, what they're looking for, benefits. So so let's expand on it. Let's say add more responsibilities. So well, it's okay with not having good spelling, but obviously in terms of text prediction, it's much better if you do spell it things properly. So add more responsibilities, including the ability to step in for trainers when they are ill. So now it's going to rewrite it. So one of the things also is a little bit annoying is that it's doing it, but it's off the page a little bit, which is a bit sort of annoying. So you have to kind of click onto it and then scroll up and down. So you can see that now it's added, we've added it to be to ask what I said, but it's reworded it into a better way than I did. So step in as a substitute trainer for exercise sessions when regular trainers are unavailable. Yeah, so what we could say, we could essentially pretend that it's a human assistant. We say, put we're looking for someone at the top, put the benefits towards the right at the end or at the beginning. Expand on the work that the charities do. You don't need to just copy and paste it and edit it, which of course sometimes you want to. You really want to just tell it what you want. In the same way that you would tell your imperfect assistant what to do, you just tell it what to do. Okay, so let's have another exploration of the different things it can do. So we are now going to write a very short summary guide for our volunteers on how to support and encourage older adults during physical exercises. So I'm going to ask it for the markdown format. Hopefully it will do it without being in a box. When you do ask for markdown format, it's probably kind of 1 in 25 times it gets it wrong and puts it in the box, and just have to ask it again. So there's nothing magic about it. The more context you give it, the better it will be. It'll respond better, because essentially it's just text prediction, but on a very sophisticated large scale. So here we've got we've already got our volunteer guide. So create a very short questionnaire to gather information on what activities might potentially be enjoyed. So again, you have to kind of click and scroll down a little bit to do it. And you see it's even got things, so you could just copy and paste this into something else. You could say, oh, add something or other to the interest, the activities. Yeah, so we've already got our list there. Let's do even more to develop our charity within an hour. So now we're write a short fitness program for the first event, including an itinerary. Write it in a way that can be used on a website for publicity. It does seem to like these kind of little icons and emojis, which I'm not very keen on their selection, even if I wanted them. So it's got the itinerary, the location, the likely timings, activity rotations of different groups. So here's a guided walks, chair yoga, light aerobics. So obviously people have different things to do. We can say, give details on training for the chair yoga session for use by the instructors. And generally, because the information we've already gone through counts as context for the next prompts and output, because previously we asked for markdown format, then it tends to do the same. So it guesses what you want based on what you previously asked for. And again, you see, if you're not a registered trainer, then obviously you can't just trust this. This needs to be proofread, checked by someone that does. So create a list of 10 fun names and slogans to use to promote the program. Translate it into French, put it in the table format, use analogies. So basically you just ask it for whatever you want. It will have a go. It doesn't get writer's block. It doesn't say that's ridiculous. It just has a go. If you ask for something illegal or immoral, it will say I'm not doing it. But there are obviously some that people have complained about, that kind of copyright breaches, and is it ethical to do various things. Essentially I'm showing you how to do it for good, rather than for bad. Essentially, if it can make your charities better, and essentially it can make it more efficient, and so you spend less on doing different things, you can consult it on good and bad things, then essentially let's go for it. Then also OpenAI has actually said that they would pay the court costs for anyone being sued for breach of copyright. So you can see it's taking a little bit more time of its thinking time for this. And maybe I should have said that will do. Yeah, I will tell it to stop after this one. Okay, so we can stop that at any time. We can say regenerate if we wanted to. So here we go. We can just say, write a short disclaimer for participants to sign. Again, it's not helpful that you can't see it on the screen, but it's what it is. So you can get it to elaborate, summarize, you can explain, critique, give examples, give analogies. You can ask it, unlike ourselves, you can ask it, why did you write it in that way? And of course, it's not actually conscious, but it will write why it's done things in certain ways. You can get it to rewrite in different style, different format. Anything. You can ask it to be friendly and professional, urgent and persuasive, write conversationally, although some of it's a bit sort of casual in many ways, or positive and enthusiastic. Anything you can describe, it will have a go at. So here we've got something. Create a thank you email to someone who's donated money to the charity, so we can get this in advance. Again, sometimes all it does is it just gives you the idea of how to do something. So even if you don't use any of the words, the concept behind things. So I asked it for doing it, showing ChatGPT to a hospice. We asked it for how the words that a single mother could use when explaining to their young child that they got breast cancer and the child's going to go into foster care. So it's a very emotional, difficult thing to say. And of course, it wouldn't actually use the words, but it doesn't get right about it. Came up with a very insightful sort of child-focused response on how to do it. So even though you wouldn't actually say those words, the concept behind it was really impressive. Let's say another one was where a children's home had to explain to a child that essentially they were so dangerous to the staff that they had to go into a secure unit. But again, the output was very positive. It was child focused. It was so even the really difficult things, it has no emotion. And it doesn't actually understand people. It just repeats words, and it does it in a sophisticated way. But you will be impressed by it. So anyway, so we've got our letter to write to them. So we're going to do things that write a short summary of the charity for a website post as a fun poem. So in the corner of our town, so lively and so bright, lies a charity with a mission bringing joy and light. We dance, we stretch, we move in laughter and in cheer. For the elderly, we strive to bring the fun so near. So even if you don't use it, even if you don't like it, it's basically very impressive that it does it, let's say. So let's just do a little bit about, so we can just say, how would I set this up on a WordPress site? So basically, how would I set up a simple WordPress site to put this on? So it can do technical support, essentially. And then at any point of this, you say, oh, I don't understand how to do that. How do I do it? So anything that's popular, it will just explain how to do, because essentially it's read all the manuals, and you don't need it, unlike Google, where if you were Googling something, you'd have to know what keywords to search for. Whereas here you write in natural language. Say even if you said it doesn't work, it would give you a go of what to do. But if you could said this message popped up, then it would, obviously again it's not 100%, but it gives you really good goes, and most of the time that it works very well. So you can access this on the website. I normally find it easier because it's easier to type. There are apps there. You have to be very, very careful of scam apps. There are apps either which obviously steal your details, or they just don't work very well. Let's say they'll use an old version of ChatGPT, like very old. The very old versions were not very good, not sophisticated. So you can access it when you copy and paste from Word. If you just so into Word or an email, if it's not got bolds and tables and numbers and things like that, then this button works well. But otherwise, you have to pretty much select it. It's a bit fiddly. Sometimes, essentially, if you just select up and then you just use the mouse with Shift press, we can copy it there into Word, and then the main thing is here, you need to press the merge formatting. Otherwise, it doesn't work very well, essentially. Other things to, let me go back to here. The new version as of last week, create a logo for the charity. So it's good at making nice pictures, but strangely it can't do letters, and it can't put words onto pictures. But anyway, in terms of creating it a nice looking picture, it's quite good. But in terms of putting words on it, then you'll need to edit it afterwards. So yeah, it takes a little while. Obviously, there's a bit more processing power to create images.
Sorry, Peter, can I just ask a question? Just because it's come up, and I thought while you're on the images, one of the questions we've had asked is about the images and about whether they can be used without copyright issues. And you mentioned earlier about them saying that they would foot the bill for copyright, but does that extend to the images?
I would assume so. Again, I'm not the lawyer, but as far as I'm aware, they say they will protect you from you. I mean, basically, if you because I for example, because you can see kind of like some of the old ones. If I asked one for a Barbie image for where a child wanted to color in, and they said, well, I'm not producing a Barbie one because Barbie's copyrighted, but I can create you one with a princess, for example. Yeah. So but yeah, essentially it does. They say they will protect you from. I don't know what that means. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean you're not going to be taken to court for it, but essentially it's highly unlikely that someone taken to court for an £80 billion company will then defend you in court for it. So obviously there are kind of issues in the background, but as a user, I don't see any particular issue with it. So yeah, anyway, so the paid version, which is obviously the version I'm using, it's kind of $20 a month, £16-17. It creates these, and you can just download them. You can see a big picture of it, and it actually explains to you what it's thought about when doing it. So essentially, obviously, it's got active. You can see they've got got the elderly walking sticks here, and kind of quite nice, really. You might not want it, but you can say, well, show me another one, show me another one, show me one which there's people sitting on a bench, or show me ones where kind of people are throwing money around in retirement or something. You could just explain anything that you want, and it will have a go at. It's not shy, it's not hesitant, it doesn't get writer's block. It just does what you ask it very quickly without without delay. So that basically this is ChatGPT. This Bing, which is Microsoft's version, it does use the latest version, but it's a bit more cautious, and it's a bit more. They're a bit more careful in their outputs. Generally, they have got people. A lot of people in the background have been checking that you can't. It's not going to output anything illegal and immoral. Obviously, lots of other people are trying to get around that, but that's as long as you're not, then that's okay. Google's version of Bard, Google's version of this, which is Bard, that's that, and also that does live searches. So tell me the top 10 charities in this sector in the UK. Do a search for them. So hopefully it should then, it does, so it doesn't have kind of live access, but it can. Okay, well, it does have access to it. Might need a new search, but anyway, so that's, but obviously it knows. So it's done everything till April 23. So it doesn't really fully understand any information before that, and obviously it didn't read everything before that, but it's read an enormous amount before that. So let's do that. So there are ones which are much better at images. Mid-Journey is amazing, but is quite expensive. But obviously, if that's what you need, that's what you need. Yeah. So that's the thing. And basically, the main thing is just having a go. Ask it more and more challenging questions until you understand the limit of it. So you want to ask in your field more and more details. Ask it anything that you're Googling. Don't Google it. Just ask it here, and that will demonstrate to you how good or not it is. It's not magic. All you do is you just ask lots of questions, and you say, oh, don't like that, do it like this. I don't like this, do it like that. So that's kind of it, is really have a go, is my suggestions. And well, let's find out some questions which I can answer, hopefully.
Oh, well, we have had lots of questions, so I've been going through, and so I'm going to pick out some because I'm not sure we'll get through everyone. But one of the questions was, what are the enhanced benefits of the paid version?
Right. So you get the newer version. So if I do a new chat here, it's ChatGPT 4, which is with DALL-E, which is the image processing, browsing. You see, it should browse. It should have browsed just then, and also analysis. So you can import a PDF file, and it would analyze it. You could import an Excel file and ask questions of it. As an Excel consultant, then that's I wouldn't need to do that, but essentially, and I also wouldn't trust it 100%. Again, it's an imperfect thing. So as long as you're saying it's imperfect, you say analyze it, and then you check that the answer's right, no problem. So everyday tasks, if it's real, ChatGPT 3 is much quicker, but it's not as sophisticated. Also, the paid version has plugins. So we've got different things, kind of reading PDFs, creating diagrams, Scholar searches academic things. Wolfram is better for calculations. And then you've got a plugin store. So you wouldn't be able to do that if you've got the unpaid version. But once you've given it a go and realize the value, £17 a month compared to the efficiency which you can do, and you can ask lots of questions and presumably share it in the office, then it seems good value to me, but I don't get any money for recommending it.
Thank you. Also, is there a UK version, or is everything at the moment coming from the US? Just people picking up on things like spellings and
so if the paid, I think it's both paid and unpaid. You've got something called custom instructions. So I give it, these are instructions to do every time, to include every time. So I say use the UK English located in the UK. And it can other say is you can actually say how you want it to respond. So sometimes it gives you a little blurb at the beginning, and a summary of what it's done at the end. I don't want that. So I can just tell it not to. I also get it to write macros, Excel macros for me, as well as a way of speeding things up. So you can just tell it you're in the UK and it will do it. It's not 100%, but that's the way it goes.
Excellent. Lots of questions about, I think, just probably about the same thing about its limitations, what it can and can't do. And you've kind of said to people, just give it a go, see what it does. But just a few more basic ones. Can it do PowerPoints? PowerPoint presentations.
I read yesterday that there is an add-on which creates PowerPoints for you. Obviously, you'd need to have the paid version. It's a plugin for it. Before, if you asked for, if you said, give me the PowerPoint slides for it, then it will give you what you would copy and paste into it. Yeah, but I believe there is in the same way if it creates an image for you, it would create a PowerPoint slide, a PowerPoint presentation for you. I don't think it would do it with pictures though. I think you would just get the words. So yeah, there's a plugin, but I haven't tested it. It probably works.
Are there any way, do you have to type in your instructions, or is there any way that you can talk to it?
Yep, there is a way to talk to it. I think that's on the app version though. On the phone version, there is you can talk to it, and also it will talk back as well.
Okay. As I said, there's quite a few questions just on, are there any guides out there that you can recommend to people, whether that be online or hard copy books, so that they can read up more on this?
Well, I would say have a go on kind of YouTube. I'm also available to do ChatGPT training for free for any charity here they're talking to now, so I can help out showing people. But realistically, you just have a go. That's the main thing is, once you've had a go and you can see how impressive it's possible to do it on, then you push it to the limit of kind of what you know, and you go, aha, right, that's as good as it is. It's not perfect, but it speeds a lot of things up.
Oh, excellent. Just trying to see if there's, as I said, there's lots of specific questions.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one that you might be able to answer. If you were to say to put in a website link and ask it to make suggestions to improve user experience, is it clever enough to do things like that?
Yes. Right. Search for a charity. Any charity, and review its page. I don't know what. That's the thing. When it does. You see, it does do it. So I don't know what that. I don't know why it's suddenly decided it can't. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. It does, but today it's decided not to. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yes, you can. The internet. I mean, it's always worth trying, basically. So yeah. Sometimes they used to have a problem because it got around newspapers' paywalls, and then they turned it off. So maybe they've turned it off temporarily. So I think I've got it based on plugins. So
that might be why. Well, yeah. I'm very conscious of time, and as I said, we had
keep doing it.
Yeah, we had lots of questions, but I think probably the main thing you've said there is that you are available to answer questions, and you're also willing to do some training with charities if they're interested. So I'm sorry for anyone who we didn't get round to your questions. I asked as many as we could get in. I'll pass back over to Jay now. I think she's just coming back onto our slides. But yeah, and I know Jay will thank you, Peter, for that, because that has been amazing. And some of the comments as well. That was amazing. Thank you so much. And mind blown. So
Lindsay, you might have to take over. Chili's going nuts. Oh, let me try it. It's okay. Right. Thank you so much. My dog's just really barking. But thank you so much, Peter. I mean, it's absolutely fascinating. And every time I have a go at it or I hear people talking about it, it does blow your mind. And I think lots of people are very scared of AI generally and ChatGPT, which has sort of brought it to, to the forefront of people's minds. But the opportunities are endless, and I particularly like the poem writing and things. For somebody who's not creative at all like me, I'm going to definitely give that a go. So I think it's been brilliant. Thank you. So we've had lots of questions, and as Lindsay said, you can follow up later on, and Peter will be happy to answer things for you. Just really before we finish off, those of you that don't know about our outsourced HR service, it works brilliantly. Our clients love it, and I know lots of you on here are clients. If you're interested at all, just let us know, and we'll talk to you more about that. And we'll be asking you for feedback, as I said at the beginning. Please put on there any topics that you want to see in the future as part of the Charity Leaders Forum, and we'll try and source them. And then just for those of you that don't know about our events, we do lots of different events, and we love people to get together. We think that collaboration is absolutely the way to go, whatever sector you're in. And tomorrow evening, we've got our social networking event at Sheffield United Football Club, and we'll be learning a bit more about the women's football there, which we're really excited about. So if you want to come to that, please book on. And then we do lots of free HR related training. So the next one is the 6th of December, all about recruitment, retention and reward packages. And although that's not specific to the charity sector, of course, the vast majority of it will be transferable. So please do, we'll send you some links to things later. So book on if you can do, some in person, some online. You should all be registered on our newsletter, and you can unsubscribe if you want. But if you're not, or if you want to send this QR code to anyone, then they can get registered for it, and that's absolutely free. And then before we finish, I promised a couple of minutes to Emma, our friends at FCS Associates, who run the Charity Hub. So they do some great in-person events in Sheffield. So Emma, if you're on, do you want to just give us just a few minutes on what you're doing with your tenders and what's live at the moment?
That's great. Thanks very much, Jay. And Peter, that was really interesting and informative. I just wanted to run through. I'm going to share my screen because I've got a few slides here. Hopefully people can see that. This is us. We're FCS Associates, just a small team. We offer business support, funding identification for charities, social enterprises and businesses. We also offer tender writing with bespoke packages or one-off services. And for tenders and grants, we can offer support in either by doing full rights or a pre-screening service. We also have a weekly free bulletin for grants and also one for tenders. And this is our website where you can go on there, sign up, and you'll get every Tuesday and into your inbox the latest 6 grant highlights. So that's free to access, and it's just a weekly round robin. Just wanted to highlight a few funds that are currently out there with some great support. Productivity and Digitisation grant. You can access this with up to £12,500 of capital grant funding. You're eligible if you're a charity, social enterprise or a business in South Yorkshire. The digitisation one, however, is capped at a contribution of £5,000. Then the second thing, Building Thriving Communities framework. This is something set up by VAS and South Yorkshire's Community Foundation. It will support charitable organisations that are experiencing barriers to accessing funding. So FCS Associates sit on that framework, so you can call down support from us if you're looking for some capacity building or funding identification, or if you're trying to get ready to start building some applications. Finally, just two there, Sustainable Community and Cultural Assets Project. This is expert support and a grant of up to £25,000 for organisations wanting to try and spend less on energy and produce less carbon emissions. That's on our website. If you're interested in finding out more, you need to click on the email link on there and express your interest, because it's very much open to conversations about the sort of scope of what it is you want to do. Worth highlighting that the National Lotteries Community Fund have overhauled their Awards for All programme only last week, and so they've increased that now from it used to be £10,000 to £20,000. This can be given out over a couple of years, so they've slightly upscaled their offering. We have the FCS Charity of the Year 2024 currently open. It's a great package of 5 days of our support, including a £250 cash contribution. The deadline is this Thursday at 5 p.m. Check the eligibility criteria, and I think Colette Bunker from Befriend's been on the webinar this morning. Befriend were our Charity of the Year 2023. And I know we need to probably end it there, because I know you've got all sorts of other things you probably want to sign off with, Jay. But thanks very much.
Thanks, Emma. When you do your, I think they're quarterly, aren't they? Your charity hub. We always share them with our clients and contacts, because I think, you know, the more we can do together, and obviously I think Sarah's here from VAS, you know, we're hoping to do a bit more with VAS, and the more we can all contribute to the sector, the better. So really, just to finish off, thank you for joining us. Thank you to Peter. Really, really appreciate it. And we're going to take you up on your paid Excel training for our firm, because I don't know my way around an Excel spreadsheet, and I know lots of my younger members of staff who I thought would know don't. So we'll be in touch, Peter.